What is going on, my fellow Masketeers? Welcome back to another episode, and we are here to talk about Sony's Spider-Man Across the Multiverse. Let me just say this movie is amazing. No pun intended for the Amazing Spider-Man, but this film, for me, it's one amazing piece of art. That's what this film is. It is art. So it is a continuation of the first one, which is Into the Spider-Verse. And in this film, we see Miles. It's been a year and 6 months as him being Spider-Man, and he's now finding his groove, discovering who he is as Spider-Man, trying to figure out what his next steps are going to be and what he wants his future to look like. Now, that being said, he's kind of been pulled in a lot of directions. One is the family dynamic, which I will say is handled beautifully. I really love the dynamic with Miles, his mom and his dad. They have such a strong bond and connection that, unlike most Spider-Men where Peter Parker and Uncle Ben dies and it's just him and Aunt May, with Miles, because he has both parents, it hits home so much harder because they have such a great chemistry. Everything about that is just leap and bounds. This film is all about the heart, and it has so much heart. But before I get into that, the other side of where Miles is being pulled is him trying to ensure that Miles's regular life is being taken care of, and that's where you kind of see the tug and pull, and where he butts heads with his parents, because again, they look at it as him being a teenager. He's 15, he's going through his teenage rebellion, whereas for Miles, it's more of a case of he's just trying to find the perfect equilibrium in those two lives. You also have Gwen, because this film, I will say, which is a very nice surprise, it is Gwen's story as well as Miles' story. Gwen, we get to see her life, her world, how she lost her version of Peter Parker, because in her story, he became the Lizard. Peter Parker is being bullied. That's Gwen's best friend. He becomes the Lizard. They have a fight. Unfortunately, he ends up dying to no fault of Gwen, but then that guilt has always stayed with her, and it's something that she's carried. That has also created tension between her and her dad, because her dad is a policeman and he thinks that Spider-Woman or Spider-Girl or Spider-Gwen was responsible for the death of Peter Parker. So he's made it his mission to capture her, so that he wants to get not only justice for Peter, but also bring some peace to his daughter who lost her best friend because of it. That has become somewhat of his obsession. Inadvertently has created a wedge between him and Gwen, because she is Spider-Woman, Spider-Girl, Spider-Gwen, whichever name you want to pick. When she's now trying to stop the Vulture, she then realizes that it's not the Vulture from her world, it's actually a Vulture from a different universe. Somehow, when they solved the problem in the first film, it actually created a rift, and the rift has grown in that sense to where other dimensions and Spider-Verses have been torn open, and so different characters are now falling into different worlds. And that's where she meets Miguel, aka Spider 2099, and he has created a whole spider society of trying to rectify the mistakes of finding the villains who have fallen into different multiverses, bringing them back to their original before they can cause any more damage. And so he runs the whole operation. He's the top dog. And let me just make a quick note. Listen, Oscar Isaac can't do no wrong. This man is collecting the Infinity Stones of Marvel projects, because he was in Fox's X-Men as Apocalypse. We won't talk about that film. He was in Moon Knight, which is Marvel Studios, and now he is in Sony's Spider-Man. He did an amazing job. Miguel as a character is so layered. He is both intimidating but relatable and understandable, and again, that is just down to the sheer brilliance of Oscar Isaac. And let me just say this as well, every single voice actor here carried this film. Everyone was on top form. Everyone worked so well with each other, and they bounce off each other, and it's so apparent when you watch this film. Now, back to this story. He's taking Gwen under his wing. They now are basically going around the different verses to try and rectify things. We jump back to Miles. Miles now discovers a villain named Spot, and even the Spot story in this film and in the context of this universe makes so much sense, because he's directly tied to Miles, to where he says that he created Miles and Miles created him. That's actually true. And so he looks at Miles as his true arch enemy. But when we first meet him, I won't even lie, he don't have the arch enemy vibe. But as the film goes on, he definitely grows into it. Gwen happens to come to Miles's reality, because again, they discover that the Spot is the singularity. He is the one that is keeping all of these dimensional rifts open, and the movie just kicks off from there. I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to spoil it too much, but this film is just amazing. Everybody's motivations, everybody's character development, everybody in this film just shines. There is never a moment where you feel that the film is either dragging or why is this happening. You are constantly constantly being pulled into the world. And that's the thing. There is so much here, but at the same time, they find the right balance for it all. This is what Doctor Strange was supposed to be. When they talked about the multiverse of madness, that film failed to give us the multiverse. Whereas in this film, they give you so much, but yet at the same time, it doesn't feel overwhelming. The balance is just chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. This film to me, like I said, is one of the best films I have seen this year. I'm saying this right now. This film and this series, the Sony Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse / Into the Spider-Verse, is the best Spider-Man film series out there. I said it. It's the best one. So you already know what my score is gonna be. But hold on just a minute before I get there. In closing, the way this film ends blew my mind because so much was happening, right? And I was thinking to myself, wait, how much more time do we have right now? How long is this film? And then I realized, like, wow, this film is 2 hours. But I thought to myself, there's so much happening, there's no way it can wrap it up in such a short amount of time. Nope, they don't. It ends on a cliffhanger. And the cliffhanger is, again, just amazing. When the film ended, that to me solidified it as the best Spider-Man film. This is hands down. This film is so good. I will put it on Infinity War level. That's how good this film is. It is Infinity War level. Infinity War will be number 1. Spider-Verse will be number 2. And depending on how they decide or how the last movie turns out, this might be the greatest Marvel cinematic trilogy. It will beat every other Marvel series. Captain America 1, 2, and 3. And as it stands, Captain America for me is one of the best, not just for Marvel, one of the best trilogies for a superhero franchise. If they can pull off the third movie, Spider-Man might actually either be on par or even better. That's how good it is. But this film, it is literally Infinity War level to me. Infinity War is number 1. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is number 2. No one can convince me otherwise. So with that being said, this film has so much heart. The animation, gorgeous. The fight scenes, out of this world. Miguel, Spider 2099, listen, he is one of the most well-crafted villains. And the thing is, he's not even a villain. That's the truth of it. He's not a villain, but he's one of the most compelling characters. He walks the gray area. And that's why for me, he is like Thanos for the Spider-Man Into the Multiverse / Spider-Verse series, because you understand his motivations and he even sympathizes with Miles. He is willing to make the hard choices. And let me just say this as well. Miles, listen, you are my Spider-Man. I grew up on Peter Parker. I love Peter Parker. I grew up on the 90s TV show. And for me, Peter Parker is one of the greatest heroes ever. This version of Miles Morales that they've given us is one of the best Spider-Men I have ever seen in terms of character, in terms of development, and just in terms of him being the guy. One of the best. The glue that holds this whole film together. As you watch this film and as you see him go on his journey, you are seeing a hero being born. In each film, that was him getting the powers and him having the confidence to go on the adventure. In this second film, this is the trial where he will be tested to see what he's made out of. And my goodness, Miles is thriving. With that being said, let me give you my verdict. I'm gonna give this a 9 out of 10. I would give it a 9.5, but I'm gonna wait until the final film comes out. This is a 9 for me. Sony, I don't know why you were not able to do this in your live action, but my goodness, keep these writers on board. Everyone that worked on this film, you did an amazing job. Hats off to you, kudos. You guys are the real MVPs. Side note, Mayday Parker, she is adorable. I honestly love Peter and his development as well. Him and Mayday, him being a parent, classic. He's kept the same energy, but he has grown. He's a man that now knows who he is and he's actually happy in his life, which I really like for this version of Peter Parker, because normally Peter is always the one struggling to have the balance, whereas this Peter, he went through that struggle. In the first movie, he was down and out and he didn't want to become a mentor, and in this movie, he has embraced that role fully. but he's still trying to do what's right. And the fact that he's a father adds more layers to him, and it also changes the dynamic between him and Miles. That's all I'm gonna say. If you like the movie, if you've watched the movie, please let me know. Sound off in the comments and let's get this party started. Quick request, please like the video. It helps the channel grow. Hit that notification bell so that you can be up to date whenever I drop these videos. And like always, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you at the next masquerade. Peace.